Hello everyone, welcome to the second part of present simple tense, and in this video we will check the use of subjects like he, she, and it, also known as third singular person. So let's start with it. You have probably noticed that we have some pictures at the top and at the bottom of this slide, and there are also some names. These are the names corresponding to each of the jobs, professions, or occupations that we have here. So let's do this vocabulary exercise, and I am going to give you a few seconds in order to match all these concepts with the corresponding image. So if you need time to think, you can stop the video right here and continue later. So if you are ready to see the answers, let's see. You are probably familiar with the images and the jobs that we have at the bottom, but what happens with the ones that we have at the top? The fishing industry worker, for example, is a person who works in the aquaculture field. There are different functions, of course, in this area. In the case of image number 2, we have a self-employed person. It is a person who doesn't have a boss because they are their own bosses. And in the case of the seasonal agricultural worker, well, they can work in harvests or different other areas related to this field. A livestock veterinarian is a veterinarian for farm animals such as cows, pigs, sheep, etc. And the freight forwarder is the person in charge of providing services in order to transport different types of products from one place to another. So let's continue with the main topic of this video, which is present simple tense for he, she, and it. It's not very different from the ones that we checked in the previous videos, but there is a very important detail that we have to be aware of in this case. The structure is exactly the same. We have a subject, which is the person who performs the action. We have a verb, which is the action, and then we have the complement. But what is going to happen? Look at this example. It says she works in an office. So when we deal with he, she, or it in present simple tense and affirmative form, we have to add letter S to the verb. This rule has two main requirements, and it is very important to remember that we only add letter S to the verb if we are talking in affirmative form, and also only when we talk about he, she, or it. If one of those requirements is not fulfilled, then we cannot apply this rule. For example, it rains a lot in winter. Are we talking in affirmative form? Yes. Are we talking about he, she, or it? Yes. Therefore, we have to add letter S to the verb. So let's continue with some exceptions as well, because depending on the way the verb ends, we are going to have some differences, some details that we have to take into account. For example, if the verb ends with O, S, CH, SH, or X, we are going to add ES. For example, he watches TV. So instead of just watch, we will say watches. Then we have to add IES if the verb ends with a consonant and Y. So we have to pay attention to the last two letters. In the case of fly, cry, or fry, we have this transformation. So you eliminate letter Y and you replace it by this new ending. For example, he cries with sad movies. It's very simple. Let's continue with the negative form. In this case, we are going to use our auxiliary, which is going to be does. And in this case, it is combined with not. So when we say she doesn't work in an office, it is the same as she does not work in an office. The only difference is that it is abbreviated. She doesn't work in an office. And for the interrogative form, what we have to do is to change the order, and our auxiliary, does, will be at the beginning of the sentence. Does she work in an office? And pay special attention to this detail because the verb doesn't have letter S. We are not talking in affirmative form here, therefore we must use the auxiliary in both cases. And the S that was supposed to go in the verb was absorbed by the auxiliary. So that's the difference. And that's a very important detail, one of the most important things that you have to take into account when talking about this sentence. Continuemos entonces con algunas excepciones más. En el caso del verbo to be, por ejemplo, este va a tener su propia forma. Para he, she, it será is. Is not, en el caso de la negación, and at the beginning of the question we will use is to start. En el caso del verbo can, poder, para expresar habilidad, si se fijan, el verbo no va a llevar s. Como tiene su propia forma y es la misma para todos los pronombres, entonces no la necesitamos. Y finalmente, en el caso de have, su forma para he, she, it en afirmación será has. Y para la negación o interrogación simplemente usaremos el auxiliar como corresponde. So here we have some exercises. A continuación tenemos algunos ejercicios y en el primero de ellos tienen que transformar cada uno de estos verbos a la forma correspondiente para la tercera persona singular. Como por ejemplo aquí tenemos el verbo fix, que termina con X. ¿Cómo debería ser entonces para hablar de he, she o it? Debería ser fixes. Lo mismo deben hacer con todos los otros, prestando especial atención a cómo termina. ¿Ok? Luego, para el segundo ejercicio, debemos escribir las oraciones en la forma indicada. Ejemplo, he likes sushi. Esta oración está en afirmación y nos pide que la escribamos en forma de interrogación. Does he like sushi? So we have to remember the rules and we have to remember the structure. Tenemos que recordar las reglas y las estructuras para cada una de las formas. Finally, I want you to think of your best friend. Quiero que piensen en su mejor amigo o amiga. And answer in the comments, what does your friend do? Or what does your best friend do? ¿Qué hace su mejor amigo? ¿En qué trabaja? ¿A qué se dedica? And that's it. Thank you very much for your attention and see you in another opportunity. Bye bye.